Welcome to Mr. Biz Radio, biz talk for biz owners. If you're ready to stop faking the funk and take your business onward and upward, this show is for you. And now, here's Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth.
Welcome to another episode of Mr. Biz Radio with me, Mr. Biz, Ken Wentworth. And this week we're going to talk about something that I guess kind of embarrassing. We've not really discussed in all the years we've been doing the show. And it's a topic that I'm fascinated by. And it's talking about recurring revenue, but even more specifically that, monthly recurring revenue, but even more specific to that, subscription-based services, subscription boxes, et cetera. So when we determined we wanted to finally cover this topic, who can we get to talk about this? Well, we found someone who can preach the gospel on this stuff, okay? So our guest this week, and gosh, forgive me, I don't know why this thing's printed out so dang small, I might have trouble reading this. She's the founder of Launch Your Box. Sarah Williams, her journey started with a brick-and-mortar retail business 10 years ago. Her desire to provide her most loyal customers with an exclusive VIP-style experience led her to launch a subscription box in 2017, despite having little knowledge of that business. That would be me. The same desire to serve that led her to start her subscription box, then led her to teach other product-based entrepreneurs how to start, launch, grow their own subscription box businesses, enjoy the benefits of consistent recurring revenue in their businesses. Sarah and her team work with thousands of subscription box entrepreneurs. Man, that's a tongue twister. Every day within her two programs, Launch Your Box and Scale Your Box. She's excited to bring her knowledge and expertise to a new audience with the release of her first book, One Box at a Time. Sarah Williams, welcome to Mr. Biz Radio.
It's so good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Been looking forward to this conversation. I know we talked right before we came on air here, but I'm not just patronizing. I'm curious about the topic myself. I know we've got listeners and viewers that are curious about this as well, because I think it's a missed opportunity for a lot of people to not start something like this, subscription based. And I wanted to get someone on here who just lives it, breathes it, knows it like the back of her hand. Before we get into all that though, Sarah, tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey.
Well, I didn't even start my business until I was 35. I have a bachelor's degree, master's degree. I went to art school. I thought I was just going to work in a cubicle the rest of my life. And somewhere that changed and decided that I would just kind of start this creative side hustle of mine. I was making things, personalizing things, and that turned in very quickly to a brick and mortar gift shop. So I opened my gift shop. It was very local based. I wasn't online. I was just selling to that person that walked into my front door. And over time, I could see this customer coming in every single month and checking out the new releases and buying something for themselves or buying something for, a friend or for a gift for someone. And so what I kept hearing was, oh, you already sold out of that. I had done a Facebook Live and showed the new arrivals for the week. And by the time they got to my shop, they were sold out. And I kept feeling like I was disappointing my regular customers, because by the time they got to the shop, I wouldn't have that item anymore that they were looking for. And so that triggered something in me to create the subscription box. Like, I wanted that customer that shopped with me every month to feel like the VIP in my business. I wanted them to have the first time to have things first. I wanted them to have exclusive things. And that's where this idea for the subscription box came around. And, I kind of sat on it for about a year because I didn't know how to make this work on the logistics side. I'd never shipped anything. I had a website that had my address and my hours that I was open. I didn't have any product listings. Like, I wasn't in e-commerce. I was solely like your local mom and pop gift shop where people would come in and order things. I would make the things and they would come back and pick them up. And so I kind of just put it on the back burner because I was busy. My store was booming. I was busy all the time. And then there was one meeting. I was meeting with my web developer to make some updates, change out some pictures and things on my website. He says, is there anything else I could do for you? And I just blurted out, I want to start a subscription box. And it was like the first time I had said it out loud. Like, I was laying in bed dreaming about it at night, but I'd never openly said it to anyone because I was like scared about how I was going to do that. And so that's how it started. He made everything work on the back end. All I had to do was start to curate the boxes, get the product, and we were ready to go.
Interesting. Well, I'm curious. I want to back up a little bit. So I'm always interested to hear people who, I did it myself. I was in the corporate world. was in an office and, take the entrepreneurial leap. Going back to that, you said you thought maybe you'd, live in a cubicle for the rest of your career. What was there some kind of moment or something happen, or did it build over time where you're like, okay, I'm going to open my own place?
It kind of was like one thing led to another type of situation. I was young. I was in the corporate world. I was in my 20s and I was working with a bunch of 40-year-old women, which I am now that person. And I just thought, man, they would come to work and their life was miserable. They would complain about their home life. They would complain about just everything. And I thought, I don't want to work. I don't want to be in this environment anymore. And so that really encouraged me to kind of step out and do something different. I started to work for an entrepreneur. I had never worked for a small business before. And it very quickly, I started running her business and I realized, oh, I could do this and I could do this for myself. That was never on my radar in life. And so that's kind of how it transitioned. And then I started my side hustle. Side hustle was making just as much money as the paycheck was. And so I said, you know what? It's now or never. I'm going to go all in. And I just went all in with it. And I'm so happy I did. A lot of people have a fear of starting something because they might fail. My internal fear was, what if I don't do this? What if this could be the best thing I ever did for myself and I don't take the chance? I've got a great resume. I told you I have a master's degree. Like, I got a great resume. I could go find a job, but this might be my opportunity that I would regret not taking later. And I'm so thankful that I jumped in.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think that's one thing I hear a lot of people out there. I call them entrepreneurs, right? The people who have the 9 to 5 and they're like, man, I want to do this. But the fear, I think, holds people back so often. And, I tell them often, I mentor some of these folks and I tell them exactly what you said, Sarah. Look, do you want to get to be 60 years old, 70 years old, you're retiring and you're like, man, I live the corporate life or whatever your 9 to 5 is. And man, the last 15 years of my career, I was kind of coasting along. It was crappy. I lost all the steam. I lost my juice. But man, what if I would have done something? That chance I had when I was 28 that I could have gone in and help run a business, or I started something on my own when I was 35 or whatever. Do you want to look back and have regret like you're talking about? And I think, especially like you said, I think people forget that, like, especially with a great resume, like you said, hey man, I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back. Right? I'll find a job if I have to. And I think a lot of people don't think about things that way.
Yeah, I think I always analyze things in worst case scenario. Okay, what is worst case scenario? I start this business. I'm really funding this, bootstrapping it, so I don't have a lot invested in it. I don't sell anything. I maybe try for 3 to 6 months. I've got some savings set aside for me to do this. Maybe I don't make anything. Worst case scenario, I'd go get another job. Like, that was the worst case scenario. And when you think about things in worst case scenario, they don't seem as scary. Like, I'm marketable. I could go get a job anywhere I wanted to. And so when I really broke it down to the worst case scenario, it was like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. Are you familiar with Sarah Blakely and her story with
Yes,
Spanx?
I love Sarah.
Yeah, I love her as well. And, I think she had a very similar type of, epiphany, I guess, that you had. She's selling fax machines and whatnot, and bootstrapped, Spanx with $5,000 and all this other good stuff. But we're going to hit a break here, guys. Again, talking with Sarah Williams. You can find out more on her website, launchyourbox.com. You can also follow her on Facebook and Instagram. Again, launchyourbox.com. We'll put it in the show notes as well. But come back after the break. We're going to talk about her book, upcoming book, One Box at a Time.
If you would like to reach hundreds of thousands of business owners every week, Mr. Biz Radio can help. Our show airs globally 7 days a week for more than 25 hours across several internet radio stations, plus 20 plus podcast platforms. Also, video exposure on the new exclusive Mr. Biz Network streaming channel, which gets blasted to 100 plus streaming platforms, and the Mr. Biz YouTube channel, and our 350,000 social media followers multiple times every week. Join Mr. Biz Nation as an advertiser by emailing us at info@MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Got a question for Mr. Biz you want answered on air? Email it to info@MrBizSolutions.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, talking this week with Sarah Williams. I want to talk about this book. So obviously you've gone through this, you launched a subscription service, and everything's going great, and you're probably helping tons of people. Is that what led you to say, man, I got to put this into a book? There's a lot of information to share.
I had absolutely no desire to write a book. It was not on my bucket list at all. I'm definitely not a writer. And I'm going to confess that I don't read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'm not a big reader either. I was speaking at an event, and it just so happened that the CEO of Hay House Publishing was also speaking at that event. And this is how it all happened. He listened to my story as I was speaking at this event, and he said, I would love to publish a book. And I was like, what? I don't need a book. I don't need a book. I was like, it's such a vanity thing for people to have a book. And he was like, what? Like, this is your opportunity. This is an eternal opt-in. It will live out there forever. And when someone reads your book, they are that much more connected to you. And it got me thinking, like, okay, like I could do a book. And so I got a book deal from Hay House, and I spent the next year writing one box at a time. And it's a mixture of my journey as an entrepreneur and how I launched and grew my subscription box, and also a case study for my students and practical actionable items in each chapter that kind of follow the journey. Okay, this is what happened. This is what I did. This is how you do it. And then here's some student case studies that showed how they did it in a different market or a different niche. So every chapter is very actionable, but also it's the story of my journey, along with so many success stories, because I have tons of students that are super successful.
It's interesting. So I was very similar. I can't stand writing. I absolutely, I mean, you ask anyone who knows me well, like, especially in my corporate career, if I would have told them, hey, and then 5 years from now, I'm going to write 3 best-selling books, they'd be like, no, you're not. You're smoking crack. Like, there's no way that's going to happen, because everyone knows I just didn't like writing at all. And the first book I did was kind of by accident, maybe somewhat similar to what you're talking about, as I was compiling information for clients as I was going through, almost like case study type information, right? Like, oh, this worked with this client. Let me put this into this like PDF, then I could share it with other new clients. And it got big enough, and my brother's like, you should just publish this. I'm like, I'm not gonna, why would I do that? And he's like, what's the worst thing that happens? You put it out there, no one ever buys it. Who cares, right?
Right.
Well, I put it out there. It did really well, thankfully. And so then I was like, well, how it goes, right? You got some success. You're like, well, I got plenty more I could write about. So that led to the second book. And then somewhat similar to your story as well, my third book was, I was doing a speaking engagement, and people came up to me afterwards and they said, please tell me you have a book that's about this topic or whatever. And I said, I don't. And they're like, oh my gosh, you got to write this book. And I did. I spoke about that topic again and another thing, and then the same reaction. So I'm like, man, I guess I got to write another book. But yeah, I can't stand writing. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it sounds terrible to say it that way, but like, as far as sitting down in front of a screen and just typing and start, I can't do that. I figured out my hack. I don't know how what your creative process was with one box at a time, but I can speak.
Yeah.
So I would sit down with like, okay, this chapter I'm going to talk about whatever, and I'd have 3 or 4 bullet points, and then I would just sit down and record the audio of me just basically just riffing, talking about the topic that I know, really well. And then I would transcribe it and then edit that. And then that's, kind of continue to build on that. And that's how I ended up, all 3 of the books. That's what I did. Cause man, just sit in front of a blank screen. Like oh my gosh, I can't even imagine it.
Well, maybe I have the cheat code to writing a book if anyone is interested, but I hired a writer, a ghostwriter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Basically, I would do a weekly interview with her. I'm great at an interview. And so she would come up, we had the chapters all outlined. She had my material from my courses. And it was like, okay, chapter 1's about this. Tell me about this. Talk to me about this. Tell me about this. Elaborate on that. And she would just interview me for an hour, hour and a half on Zoom. And then she would go back and write the chapter. And so I wrote the opening and the ending, and that was really all I had to sit down and type. But she basically pulled it out of me because I would be the same way as you. So yeah.
Yeah, no, interesting. And that's definitely another, I think, a good path, especially for people like the two of us that don't really like sitting down and writing, which is kind of weird for me because I read a ton of books and listen to a ton of books on Audible as well. I just don't like sitting down and like, oh my gosh, it's just painful for me. But it was an interesting way to do that. And I've heard people having ghostwriters and everything and had amazing experiences. I mean, think about it. The person you're working with, they've probably written how many books, right? So if let's say you're trying to do it on your own, you're trying to write your own first book. You've never done it before, as opposed to having basically someone guide you along the process that's written whatever, 50, 100 books maybe over the course of their career as a ghostwriter and maybe as a writer for themselves as well. So it kind of helps not only hit the easy button, but I think really on the expertise side of things is going to help too. And probably the book turns out way better, otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So what kind of things can people expect in there? You'd mentioned some case studies and talk about students and things like that. Would you recommend someone get your book first and then maybe check out your two programs?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that so I have two programs. Launch Your Box is our entry-level program, and that's where people are running to start, launch, or grow your subscription. Once you've launched, you have really social proof, you have proof of concept, and you're ready to scale. That's where my second program, Scale Your Box, comes in. A lot of people start with Launch Your Box and move to Scale Your Box. I do have some people that come straight into Scale Your Box because they already have a thriving subscription box. But the book is a great intro to me, my community, and then tactical information that you can really get started with. I was doing this and my subscription box blew up like overnight and people were watching that. And that's really how this coaching thing came for me. I just wanted to make the cute things. I just wanted to sell the cute things. And then people started saying, where do you do this? Or how do you source overseas? Or where do you get your cute packaging? Or how do you do this? And I started just answering people and it just kind of got overwhelming. And I thought, okay, there's something here. People need this knowledge. And how can I put that into, a format that I'm not just answering questions all the time for free, because that becomes a lot of my time. And that's why I created a membership. And I love the reoccurring revenue. I'm getting 6 figures reoccurring revenue with my subscription box every month. How can I take my coaching and create reoccurring revenue on this side of the business? And I created Launch Your Box as a membership. And I started with 19 members. And they were just people that were in my DMs asking me questions all the time. And I just reached out to them. I said, hey, I'm going to start this thing. I have nothing built yet. You're going to kind of be my guinea pigs. I'm going to build it with you. You'll get the founding member price. If you're in, let me know. And 19 people signed up. I had nothing. I threw them into a Facebook group and I started to figure out what they needed. And that's where I started to build my core content and everything for Launch Your Box. Within 12 months, I had 1,400 paying members, monthly members. It just grew like crazy. And to date, I've taught over 5,000 students, and I have a pretty high retention rate inside the membership. And now I have Scale Your Box, which we built a couple years ago. And I also have a high level 6 and 7 figure mastermind. So students that get in-person meetings with me that are on that higher level.
That's awesome. So I'm curious if and we're running out of time here in the segment, but that sounds very much like, and I've done the same thing with my businesses, Russell Brunson's value ladder. And it sounds like you've got exactly created that. There's different entry points and then taking people along that value ladder with what you offer. Again, we're talking with Sarah Williams, launchyourbox.com. You can find out more there. Follow her on Facebook and Instagram. Come back and she's going to tell us how to grow a subscription business.
How would you like to have direct access to Mr. Biz to help you run your business more profitably and more efficiently? At MrBizSolutions.com, you get live access to not only Mr. Biz, but also several of his hand-picked and trusted business experts, each with 20 plus years of experience to help you optimally manage and grow your business. That's just the start of where Mr. Biz Solutions begins. Learn more at MrBizSolutions.com. That's MrBizSolutions.com.
Attention, Mr. Biz Nation. We have an exclusive offer just for you. Get lifetime access to scarcity countdown timers and logic links for only $69. Yes, you heard it right. Only $69. These tools will add urgency to your email campaigns and website pages, helping you increase conversions, sales, and capture more leads. Don't miss this incredible opportunity. Visit getpulsetools.com now and take your business to new heights.
Check out all 3 of Mr. Biz's best-selling books at MrBizBooks.com. Now, once again, here's Mr. Biz.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, talking with Sarah Williams this week. She is the monthly recurring revenue queen. I've just anointed you. I've just given you the title. I'm just send you a crown. So we've talked a lot about this and your journey and how you've built all this. And I know along the way, I mean, I want to really focus on this last segment on, some of your tips on growing that subscription business. But really to get started, I think, in doing prep for the show, I noticed you seem to be really big on building a community. And that's a really important thing for small business owners. Tell us a little bit about why you think that's so important.
I think it's important in any aspect of business that you're in. So building a community with my product-based business is really important. And then building a community in my coaching business has been really important as well. When you can build a community of like-minded people, your retention rate, your loyalty, your raving fans are at a much higher level than if you're just selling to the next person, to the next person, to the next person. I've seen that with my product-based business. When I created a community of my subscribers, they come back and they want everything else that I sell. They're going to want the matching cardigan. They're going to want the earrings. They're going to want the t-shirt. They want everything else I'm selling. They don't just want the box because they're part of something bigger than just that box. Same with my coaching program. We build a community, and it's tough because in that community, there's thousands of people building subscription boxes, and essentially we could be each other's competition in that group. But one of the things that I have really focused on is sharing our knowledge and supporting each other. It is community over competition. And I think when you can have those values in whatever business you have, everyone elevates together, and we are seeing that over and over again.
Interesting. And so I keep talking about subscription business, and I know you're more focused on, subscription boxes, but I was kind of making it a little bit more generic, Sarah, because I feel like these things that you've built, even with a box with actual physical products and everything, would work as well for information products or, maybe a virtual coaching type of thing, which I know you have as well. So without further ado, tell us some things. We're all waiting here, Sarah. So tell us some things that are really key, you think, in growing that, starting and, growing that subscription business.
Well, the first thing, and I talk about this so much, is getting visible. We have to get in front of people. We can't just lob things out there and think that everybody sees what we're doing. And in fact, and I know a tiny, tiny fraction of a percentage of people that follow us even see what we're doing. So we have to focus on getting visible. I think a lot of time creatives that are entrepreneurs focus on the back end. Like, I got to make the product, I got to make the packaging, I got to do the things, but we have to make the content to get visible. That's being on social and actually being social on socials. Like, you can't just go put a Facebook post up and not engage in the comments and not have quality pieces. You can't just go start a YouTube channel and not be consistent at it. You can't just get on TikTok once and think that that's going to get you in front of people. You have to get visible. And that's being on social media. That is one of the best advertising platforms we have, whether that's organic or paid. We didn't have that when I was in college. Like, I have a marketing degree before we had, digital ads. And so people younger than us have no idea what it's like to shoot a TV commercial or buy a billboard on the side of the road. Like, we have so much better marketing, tools in front of us than we ever had before, and we need to use them. Google ads, Facebook ads, organic social media. That's how we get visible. So that's my tip number 1 for growing.
And I think I agree with you 100%. I think it's so important. And I was naive to that as well when I first left the corporate world and started my own business and started, building some of these things. And I stumbled upon Grant Cardone, and he talks about, one of the things, he's all over social media, but he talks about, and it sounds nefarious in the beginning, but he says the best known product always wins. And he said, I'm not saying that you put out crappy products and just, rip people off. He said, I'm not saying that at all. But he said, think about when you think of hamburgers, what's the first thing that pops in your mind? more than likely most people are going to say McDonald's. Is
Yeah.
that because McDonald's has the best hamburgers? Absolutely not. I mean, they're not bad, but I mean, as far as, you know, if you wanted some, you know, Kobe beef, you know, top of the line hamburger, you wouldn't think of McDonald's, but they're ubiquitous. They're everywhere. So everyone knows them, and henceforth they're obviously very successful. So yeah, I think it's very important. I think a lot of people, again, we've talked about in the first segment, the fear of, oh my gosh, I can't go live. What if I say something stupid? What if I misspeak? What if my hair is out of place? What if my shirt's all wrinkled up? You know, whatever people. And what I found when I started to really dive into it several years back is I think people like those kind of things even more because it shows authenticity.
You're relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. People don't want to follow people that are perfect. People want to follow people that are like them or that they can see themselves like. Like if I was just this perfect, polished person that never said y'all or never talked about what a weird day I was having or anything like that, they couldn't relate to me. I live in the South. I live in Texas. I'm going to say y'all. I'm going to talk about the weather. I'm going to, you know, like all those things that I may say something about what my kids did last night. You know, I'm a mom, and those are the people that are going to relate. They're Southern moms that buy my subscription. So why wouldn't I just be who I am? And I think sometimes we're so afraid of being who we are because we think we have to be polished and professional all the time. But if you look at content across social media, it's that user generated content. It's that organic, authentic content. It's not the perfect graphics. It's not the perfect video ads. It's not some super polished professional photo shoot that's getting the most traction. It's the people like you and me that are just showing up as themselves and having a conversation with their audience. And that's how we get visible.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, that's a great tip. I love that one to start. What's another thing we can do?
Number 2 is super important to me. So many entrepreneurs focus so much on acquisition that we forget we need to focus on increased retention and reduce churn. When we have reoccurring revenue, it's money in the bank every single month. And so if you can focus on retaining those customers, your acquisition isn't as high because you don't need as many people to replace them all the time. And a lot of entrepreneurs, especially product-based entrepreneurs, are so focused on acquiring the next customer. That is important. But if you retain your customers, your subscribers, your members, you don't need to acquire so many. You don't have to spend as much money acquiring people because they're staying. And so reduce your churn, increase your retention, and keep that as a focus every single month.
I love that. And the other thing I would add, I'm sure you agree with this as well, is if you've got those people that are, you know, are loyal to you and they've been with you for a while, you're going to get referrals from them. You're going to get a lot of word of mouth, which is free acquisition, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And I could see that in the beginning stages of my own subscription box. Like it was very local because that's all I had. I had a local storefront. It was really challenging for me to get out in the world because people didn't know me. And so I would get a subscriber, say in Utah, and then all of a sudden there would be 3 or 4 people in the same town in Utah. And I'm like, oh, they're talking to each other. Oh, she's wearing the shirt and someone's complimenting her and she's saying, you need the subscription box. And then I would see a pocket of subscribers in Colorado Springs. And then they were just kind of popping up everywhere. And that was what was happening. And that was all organic. And that's amazing for any business owner.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. We've only got about a minute left. Can you give us one more nugget?
I'm going to give you the big nugget. You've got to have a strong value proposition. So what makes your offer, your box, your membership different and unique? How is it not like everyone else? You've got to niche down. So that's one thing I talk about in the book. It's called the riches are in the niches. You've got to niche down so people can find you. And that's what makes you unique and special, is that you're focused on one group of people and you're not too broad and you're not for everyone, because when you're for everyone, you're for no one specific.
Yeah, I love that too, because I feel like that's one thing that people try to do, especially beginning entrepreneurs, try to appeal to this huge broad audience instead of, and then you're like you're not pleasing enough of anybody, right? Because you're trying to be too broad with this. But well, unfortunately, we're out of time. Again, Sarah Williams, launchyourbox.com, follow her on Facebook and Instagram. Sarah, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic rest of your week. And don't forget, as always, cash flow is king.
To become part of Mr. Biz Nation, follow him on all social media platforms or never miss a show by going to MrBizRadio.com. If you prefer free video content, visit the Mr. Biz YouTube channel or check out his streaming channel, which is available on 100 plus streaming platforms at MrBizNetwork.com.